Have you ever been called lazy because you can't wake up early, or been judged for falling asleep at 9 p.m. like a grandparent? Here's the truth nobody tells you. That internal battle you've been fighting with your alarm clock, it's not a lack of discipline. It's not a moral failure. It's a genetic switch. And for millions of people, that switch is locked into a position that no amount of willpower can override. We're going to dissect the PER3 gene today, the specific molecular clock inside your cells that decides whether you thrive at midnight or peak at dawn. We'll map the tug-of-war between adenosine buildup and your circadian rhythms, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why forcing yourself to become a morning person when you're genetically a night person is like trying to teach a fish to climb a tree. Let's get into it. It's written into your DNA, specifically a gene called PER3, and depending on which version you have, your brain is literally wired to function on a different schedule than everyone else's. This isn't a preference, it's not a lifestyle choice, it's biology. For decades, we've treated being a night owl like a character flaw, like something you could fix if you just tried harder, woke up earlier, cut out caffeine, followed the right morning routine. But here's what the research actually shows. Your chronotype, whether you're a morning person or a night person, is between 40 and 50% genetically determined, and PER3 is one of the main switches controlling that. This gene comes in different variants. Some people have a longer version, some have a shorter version, and that difference, it changes how your brain builds up sleep pressure throughout the day. See, there's this molecule called adenosine. It accumulates in your brain the longer you're awake. Think of it like a timer. Every hour you're awake, more adenosine builds up, and when it reaches a certain threshold, you feel sleepy. Your brain is basically telling you, okay, that's enough, time to shut down. But here's where PER3 comes in. It regulates how sensitive you are to that adenosine buildup. People with one variant of the gene, they feel that sleep pressure quickly. By 9 or 10 p.m., their adenosine levels have hit the threshold. Their brain is screaming at them to go to bed. They wake up at 6 a.m. feeling refreshed because their biological night is over. People with the other variant, their brains don't register that same pressure until much later, midnight, 1 a.m., even later, and trying to force yourself to sleep before your adenosine hits that threshold is like trying to fall asleep at noon. Your body just isn't ready. This isn't theory. Researchers have actually put people into controlled environments. No clocks, no windows, no external time cues. And people with different PER3 variants naturally fall into different sleep-wake cycles. The morning people, they still wake up early, even when there's no reason to. The night owls, they naturally stay up late. Their bodies are running on different clocks. And here's the thing that makes this actually matter. It's not just about when you prefer to sleep. It's about when your brain actually functions at its peak. Your cognitive performance, your reaction time, your ability to focus, all of these follow your circadian rhythm, and that rhythm is genetically programmed. A morning person taking an important exam at 8 p.m., they're literally performing with a disadvantaged brain. A night owl forced into a 7 a.m. meeting, they're not just groggy, their cognitive capacity is measurably reduced. We've built society around one chronotype, the early riser. School starts at 8 a.m., work starts at 9 a.m. The assumption is that everyone can adjust if they just try. But you can't willpower your way out of your genetic programming any more than you can willpower yourself to be taller. The PER3 gene doesn't work alone, obviously. It's part of a larger circadian system. There are other genes involved: clock, BMAL1, PER1, PER2. They all interact in this complex molecular dance that happens inside every cell in your body. But PER3 seems to be one of the key players in determining individual differences. And the variant you have, you got it from your parents, which means if you've been beating yourself up for years about not being a morning person, you've been fighting a battle you were genetically set up to lose. Now, I should say, this doesn't mean you're completely locked in. There's some flexibility. Light exposure, meal timing, exercise. These can shift your circadian rhythm to some degree, but there's a limit. You might be able to move your natural sleep window by an hour or two. But if you're a genetic night owl, You're not going to become someone who naturally wakes up at 5 a.m. feeling great. Your biology won't allow it. And this matters more than most people realize, because we've pathologized being a night person. We've called it lazy, undisciplined, a problem to be solved. But from an evolutionary perspective, it makes perfect sense. Think about it. In ancestral environments, having some people naturally alert at different times would have been advantageous. Someone's watching for predators at dawn. Someone else is keeping watch at midnight. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Genetic diversity in chronotypes probably helped groups survive. But modern society doesn't accommodate that diversity. We've standardized everything around one schedule, and the people whose genes don't match that schedule, they're the ones struggling, not because there's anything wrong with them, but because the system wasn't built for their biology. There's research showing that night owls forced into early schedules have higher rates of depression, higher rates of metabolic issues, even higher rates of cardiovascular disease. And it's not because being awake at night is inherently unhealthy. It's because living in constant misalignment with your genetic programming creates chronic stress on your system. Your body is constantly fighting itself. Your biology is saying sleep. Your alarm clock is saying wake up. Your brain is saying you need another hour. Your job is saying you need to be here now. That conflict, it wears on you. And the worst part is, we've internalized this as personal failure. Night owls spend years trying to become morning people. They buy the sunrise alarm clocks. They download the sleep tracking apps. They experiment with melatonin and magnesium and every hack imaginable. And sure, some of it helps around the edges, but they're still fighting their genetics. The PR3 variant you have, it's not going to change. What you can change is how you work with it instead of against it. Some people have tried to do this. Companies that allow flexible schedules, schools that start later for teenagers, and the results are pretty clear. When people can align their schedules with their chronotype, they perform better, they're healthier, they're happier. But that requires acknowledging something we've been reluctant to accept. Not everyone's biology works the same way, and that's okay. It's not a moral failing to be a night person. It's not a sign of weakness to struggle with early mornings. It's just genetics. The molecular clock inside your cells is ticking at its own pace. Adenosine is building up on its own schedule, and no amount of willpower can override that programming. Maybe the solution isn't fixing night owls. Maybe it's building a world that doesn't assume everyone's PR3 gene works the